Welcome to the Coach's Corner. We are here at the Tivoli Tap House where you can find great food as well as great beer. I'm Tony Almanza, and alongside me is Connor Dockery. Connor, it was a great weekend in sports this past week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was able to catch most of the games. There was a lot of good soccer and volleyball action this weekend. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, so who do we have on the show for today?
So we're going to head out to the Diamond to talk some baseball with head coach Ryan Strain. And let's get into some cross country as head coach Trent Mack will be here to tell us about their meet in Gunnison last Saturday. And senior Erica Ruiz joins us from the cross country squad to tell us all about her final year in the sport is going.
Nice. So before we bring on our first guest, we want to give you a recap of what happened this past weekend in Road Runner sports. Let's kick off with some women's soccer who opened up their conference schedule this weekend. Senior Raina Banks is scoring at an incredible rate this season, and she added 2 more in a 4-0 win over New Mexico Highlands on Friday. Paloma Turan and Yaya Gamboa added goals of their own, and goalkeeper Erica Torres kept those Cowgirls off the scoreboard. Banks would score 2 more goals on Sunday to help the Roadrunners start their RMAC schedule with 2 wins and 0 losses.
Now for the men's team, and they welcomed in Colorado Christian on Friday at the Regency Athletic Complex. And just like the women, the men netted 4 goals in their victory. 4 different Roadrunners found the back of the net, including Jacob Koking, who scored his 2nd goal of the season. Head coach Jeremy Tittle's squad scored 4 more goals on Sunday to defeat Dixie State 4-1, which now has the Roadrunners at 2-0 to start off RMAC play.
Let's head indoors for a little volleyball. Head coach Jenny Glenn and her team welcomed in former Roadrunner assistant Bobby Blanken, who is now the head coach of Colorado Christian. Every set was a dogfight to the final points, including the 2nd set where the MSU Denver won by a 31-29 margin. Sophomore outside hitter Kayla White had a career night, blasting 11 kills, recording 10 digs and serving up 5 service aces. MSU Denver takes the 3-1 win over CCU, but fell to Regis the following in another hard-fought battle. The Roadrunners are now 3-1 in conference play.
The cross-country team is off to a fantastic start this season, and this past Saturday was no different at the Mountaineer Cowboy Invitational in Gunnison, Colorado. The men's team finished 4th overall and did so just points behind some of the best teams in all of Division II. 2-time Coach's Corner guest Sam Berg finished 6th overall, while Jacob Link came in just 2 spots later in the 8th spot. The women finished 3rd overall and got great performances from today's guest Erica Ruiz along with Sabrina Rotter and Alden Grudel. The next meet for both of these squads will take place on October 6th, where MSU Denver will host the Roadrunner Invite at Washington Park.
And one last note, the women's tennis team was in action this past weekend. After a 5-2 loss to Nebraska Kearney on Thursday, the team would rebound to take down Fort Hays State 4-2 on Saturday. Tabitha Porter, Alex Pasoya, and Helena Steenberg all recorded single wins for MSU Denver. The women's team will next compete in the ITA Regionals in Wichita Falls, Texas in 2 weeks. So now we say hello to head coach of the baseball team, Coach Ryan Strain. Coach Strain, thanks so much for coming on the show.
You bet. It's good to be here.
So did you take some time off for vacation to join us here on the show?
Yeah, I snuck away from practice for a minute. We were just finishing up. So it's been going well, and we just got started last week with our team practice. So just trying to see what we got.
Okay, so as head coach, do you ever have any time off for yourself, or is it always just baseball?
No, yeah, we do a little bit. I mean, during the summer, it's pretty busy with, recruiting and that stuff. But I was able to get away with the family a few times, which has been nice.
So what does the recruiting process look like for a coach during the fall? Are you all finished filling out your roster for the upcoming spring season and mostly looking for guys the following season?
Yeah, majority of it is looking for the next season. For the 2019 season right now, we've got most of our teams set. In Division II, we can still bring some kids in at semester, and last year we brought in 2 players. So we may do that again. I mean, we're still looking for that, but a lot of that we won't know until a little bit later in the fall when kids decide to transfer. But yeah, majority of the time going out and seeing games this fall will be to fill in the next class.
And speaking of this recruiting class, this will be your first big recruiting class for this program. Does that excite you to see what your new guys are going to bring to the table?
Yes, I mean it was quite a lot of work, over the last 12 months trying to get these guys here. But we're bringing in about 16 new players, and then with those guys that transferred in last year during that semester, we got 18 new guys, basically a little over half the team, and so we're excited to see what they've got, and I think a lot of the fans will enjoy watching them play.
How are you working out with your current team in the fall? What are some things you're looking for from your guys at this point of the year?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just trying to reintroduce each other, to the new guys and the old guys. But I think the main thing is just we're trying to get our guys to play hard, understand our system, the way we want to try to play, and just get everybody kind of acclimated to that. And then as the fall goes, with the competition, we'll start seeing, who kind of separates themselves and kind of have a little bit of a plan as we go into the spring on, who we think is going to be at what positions and what roles they're going to fill, on the pitching staff, and then eventually get out there and start playing and see what happens.
So you're going to be starting your second season with MSU Denver this spring. Are there things you're changing from last season, whether that be practice schedule or the way you teach hitting or pitching? Now that this is your program, what changes that are going to be in place that will deviate from the way things were done in the past?
Yeah, I think last year we had so many seniors, there wasn't a whole lot of changes. I mean, we definitely made some changes, with kind of the style play and some of those things. But a lot of those guys, they've been here 4 or 5 years and hit a certain way. And once you get to 22, 23 years old, it's kind of tough to make some changes. But, I think this year, especially with our start so far, we started to make a little bit of changes with our guys and trying to adjust to this type of style that we want to play. And then, also as far as practice, we've made a few adjustments with some of the things that we do. Just, after having a year of being able to see what the league's like, what it's going to take to win, we have a better idea of what we need to do. And I think that's a lot coming down to what we did recruiting-wise to bring in the guys that, we thought we could help us and what we were, good at, try to increase that, and then also some of the things that we might have been deficient at that we wanted to, try to help out.
If you or your senior players from last year's squad have made appearances in playing baseball after MSU Denver, can you tell us who are those guys that are still playing?
Yeah, Donnie Ortiz and Trent Maloney both got to play, professional baseball after the year, and Trent mainly did as a pitcher, and then Donnie as an infielder. And so it's great for those guys to get another opportunity to continue to play. It's like I tell them, you only get one career, and try to play as long as you can.
So, professional baseball recruiting seems to be different compared to other sports. For example, if you want to play in the NFL, it helps tremendously to play in those bigger conferences. Whereas in baseball, if you're good, the majors are going to find you. How does that process work in helping your players continue their playing careers once they're done here?
Yeah, baseball's different because, and like you said, in football, those guys jump right into the NFL. In baseball, they have to go all the way through the minor leagues. So there's some more opportunities there, and it takes a lot longer to develop as a baseball player by the time you get to the major leagues. So you can find guys anywhere. Guys develop at different ages and at different levels. And the main thing what I try to sell to our recruits is they're going to find you. The main thing is you want to go somewhere where you get a chance to play. And so that's the good thing about Trent and Donnie. They played a lot of baseball, and some guys liked him and gave him that opportunity. And that's what we're trying to sell to our players that came in this year. That if you play well enough, you're going to get drafted out of this league or get a chance to play. And it happens every year in our league. There's several players that get a chance to go on and play. And hopefully this year we'll have some guys to add to that.
Coach, you'll be hosting your alumni weekend this Friday and Saturday. Can you tell the audience what is involved and how can folks still sign up for this event?
Yeah, we're having our alumni weekend. This is my second one that I've been involved with, and on this Friday night we have an alumni social at 5 o'clock, and then we let the guys go out there and take BP and try to have a home run derby and just kind of hang out. And they get to hang out with our current roster, and some of our guys get to meet some of them. And then on Saturday we'll have a golf tournament at 1:30 shotgun at Applewood Golf Course in Golden, and you can still sign up if you want to come out.
Nice. Well, Coach, thanks so much for coming on the show, and hopefully you have some time to, I don't know, enjoy your time, I guess.
I will. Thank you for having me.
So we'll be taking our first break, but before we do that, it's that time again where we bring you the tweet of the week. It comes from our Roadrunners TV Twitter account. This past weekend, the volleyball team celebrated 50 years of Roadrunners volleyball, and a great video about their storied history was tweeted out. So check out the Roadrunners TV Twitter account and get blasted to the past with some incredible stories about the history of Roadrunners volleyball. Time for a break. We're coming right back with cross-country head coach Trent Mack up next on the Coach's Corner.
I'm Kyle Jones. I'm a junior this year on the cross country team. You're watching the Coach's Corner, and get rowdy.
Welcome back to the show. Before we talk to Coach Mack, we want to tell you about a great event that involves the Tap House and the Alumni Association. The two sides will be co-hosting the Alumni Social that will take place on Friday, September 28th. It is in conjunction with Meyer Skies, and there will be free drinks, free food, free MSU Denver gear, and a lot of fun networking. So visit msudenver.edu/alumni for more information. So now we bring in Coach Trent Mack, coach of the cross-country team. Coach, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, so it's been hot here in Denver these couple of weeks. Does that affect your student athletes, like when they train and how much water they need to have?
I mean, a little bit, we do. I mean, it's something that I'm constantly putting in their ear, you know, to push the fluids daily. We're fortunate enough with our class schedules, we do practice in the morning. So with our typical practice starting about 7:45, 8 o'clock, and with the heat, we can always push it earlier if we need to. But, you know, luckily about the time we're finishing up, it's really getting warm. So we kind of have a little bit of balance with, we're able to adapt to the heat a little bit so when we do have to race in it, but it's not crazy hot during the, you know, like it is during the middle of the day.
That's good then.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this past meet in Gunnison. Can you give us the track conditions and what the weather was like out there that last Saturday? It also features some pretty impressive competition as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, you get up that high in elevation, it's pretty cool in the morning, but we were actually surprised how warm it got by race time. I don't think it really affected the races, but, you know, our approach going up there was it's truly a fitness test, not a foot race. When you run at that kind of elevation, and that's really what I wanted to see. We had originally planned on competing over in Lincoln, Nebraska, and kind of changed late in the summer here. Wanted to take it up to some higher altitude, and with the length of the season, really test our fitness this time of year. And also, you know, it's a chance to see some amazing competition. I mean, right here in our conference, you know, some of the top returning teams in the nation, and they're back in form just like they usually are. So I was happy with how we went up there and competed amongst the field.
The women's team would place an incredible third at the meet. Talk about their performance and how they fared against Adams State and Western States on the world.
I mean, Western looked amazing up front. Adams, you know, they're kind of mixing it up. They're pretty deep, so running some different individuals week in and week out. But my girls, they scared me a little bit early on. About halfway through the first mile, you know, we were probably 15 seconds or so back from the lead pack, and I didn't really expect that. And I kind of panicked internally, but didn't say much, and, you know, kind of shouted out that they had to close it up a little bit. And they went out on a pretty far stretch, and when they came back about a mile and a half into the race, they had moved quite a bit of distance up in the field. And so, again, it was kind of like for me to sit back after the weekend and kind of reevaluate things, kind of reminded me where we're at. We're fit, but we really need to start getting our legs underneath us as we go through the midseason to kind of handle the speed of the race moving forward.
So, you know, just like the women, the men also placed very well, finishing 4th overall. Sam Berg and Jacob Linkwood finished 6th and 8th place respectively. Did it seem like they were unfazed by the competition out there?
I was actually really, really happy with the confidence that they showed. I mean, from the gun, they latched onto the lead pack, and it was about 7, 8 guys that ran together the whole way. And then things kind of spread out a little bit after mile 4. I think people were kind of feeling the effects, and whoever had their legs underneath them was going to start pushing the pace. But, you know, they were even confident enough to make some pretty impressive moves in the last half mile, 3/4 of a mile. Probably, you know, looking back, maybe a little bit too early and too aggressive among the competition. But I mean, man, they impressed me. They raced some high caliber national individuals that have a lot of experience, some past All-Americans, and hung right in there and showed that they're not afraid to kind of stick their nose in it.
Right.
So how much of a great weekend like this boosts the confidence, like you're talking about, to face off against national contending teams and race like they belong? It seems like it can go a long way once the conference championship and regional championships come around.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, each meet we go into, we talk about what we need to look at within our own program, like that, to make sure that we're taking a step forward. And, you know, granted, you look at the competition you're running against and you try to adapt and make the adjustments for those teams. But at the end of the day, when we walk away from it, we want to make sure that we're making the right progression to take into the next meet. You know, cross country is always a little bit different than some of the other sports where you're playing conference schools and your record has a lot to do with it to go postseason, you know, we can be a little bit more progressive. We have to run well at the right time, and the right time is going to come down to the end of the season. You know, we do race in the next couple weeks. We're going to race some schools outside of the region. We have to be ready to go because those, if you get beat by those teams, those points can count against you come the end of the season for rankings. But at the same time, if you don't run well at the end at the region meet, it's pretty pointless.
So we're going to have senior Erica Ruiz on the show with us later. Tell us about Erica and what kind of runner she is and how she's progressed through her time with you on the team.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we redshirted Erica last year, which was, you know, looking back, it was hard not to have her last year, have that leadership and have those performances. But, you know, fast forward, now we finally get to the point when she gets to step out there and race again. It really allowed us last year for me and her to really connect and work together well, figure out what she responds to. She's come into the season, she's a great leader. You know, she just keeps her head down and works hard. But a phenomenal racer, and you know, I've never really seen her race cross country up until this year. We had all track season where she put together some great performances, but some athletes just really respond on a cross country course, and she has that natural instinct. She loves to get out in kind of that open terrain. She's a grinder, and I'm looking forward to her season because she's showing that she can mix it up with those individuals as well. I mean, coming off a great 6th place finish among some really, really tough individuals.
Your next meet takes place in 3 weeks. Is that tough to have to wait that long for you to see competition, or is that time for your athletes to heal or to prepare for the next meet? What do you do with your athletes during that time frame?
I mean, I think it's a little tough for them. They're always excited to compete, but it's really beneficial. When you have a break like this, you can take that block. Our volume will go up quite a bit. And so we're going to be able to put in some really, really good training and get some key workouts in. But at the same time, you know, the effects of the first few weeks are really starting to catch up with everybody. A couple races, you know, the stress of school and the training, and so it also allows us to be a little bit more flexible. When you're not racing at the end of the week, somebody's dealing with something, a little bit of an injury or a sickness, you can kind of, you know, take a step back, allow them to regroup and come back at it, and instead of feeling that pressure, like you got to be ready to race. So we use this 3-week block for kind of both extremes to really improve in training, but also kind of regroup anybody that needs to take a little step back and then get back at it.
So that next meet's going to be your home meet, the Roadrunner Invitational, taking place at Washington Park. This will be your 2nd time running in this event. What did you learn from that meet last season that will help you this year?
I mean, the biggest thing I learned is our course is deceivingly hard. You know, people walk out there, and a lot of teams come in and they look over Wash Park, and it's pretty flat, and you know, they think they're going to come there and run a fast time, but it's deceivingly hard with the footing and the terrain. We spent a lot of time at that park utilizing the different training surfaces, and we've spent a little bit more time there this season already, and probably will throughout the season. But I think our team's always excited for the home meet. You know, we have a great alumni 5K that goes on afterwards, and then also the fact that we host the regional meet. The home meet will be bigger this season. We have some teams coming from Texas, from down south, and then a lot of local conference teams. So they want to come see the course before that big region meet at the end of the season.
Nice. Well, Coach, thanks so much for coming on the show, and wish you the best of luck in the upcoming Roadrunners invite.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
So we'll be taking one last break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be talking more cross country with Erica Ruiz up next on the Coach's Corner.
Enough. Yeah, I'm over it.
We shouldn't need commercials to tell you we're powerful.
No thanks.
Genders don't play sports. Athletes do.
Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference is committed to sportsmanship.
We take pride in the conduct of our student athletes and coaches.
And ask that everyone, coaches, athletes, and spectators, treat opponents and officials with respect.
We encourage you to cheer for your favorite team.
Unruly, threatening, or obscene behavior will not be condoned.
Thank you for your cooperation and support.
I'm Erica Ruiz, a senior on the women's cross country team, and you're watching the Coach's Corner. Get rowdy.
Welcome back to the show. Before we talk with Erica, we want to remind you that you can get free parking during sporting events here at Roadrunner Sports. Visit roadrunnerathletics.com/parking code to find the parking code for the respective sporting event you are attending and start avoiding all those high-priced downtown Denver parking rates. If you're attending an event at the Auraria Event Center, you'll park in the Tivoli Garage. If you're heading over to the Regency Athletic Complex, you'll park in the adjacent lots next to the complex. Again, that's roadrunnerathletics.com/parking code. So now we say hello to senior cross country and track star Erica Ruiz. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
How does the heat affect you and your teammates when you're out there training for the next meet? I mean, you are a California girl. Does the heat affect you or no?
Not as much, but it does a little bit. So I just got to make sure, I'm drinking enough water and Gatorade to kind of help with that. Yeah.
Nice.
So let's talk about your meet in Gunnison this last weekend. Your women's team finished 3rd overall in a very tough meet that featured some of the top teams in the nation. When you saw you had finished 3rd, how excited were you to see the progress that your team had made?
I was super stoked, honestly. Obviously, given that, where I placed, I was honestly more excited for the team just because we're always kind of seen as the underdog per se, and so seeing us just below the 2 top national rankers of Adams and Western, so just seeing us below kind of definitely made it more exciting for the rest of the season.
Right.
So for you, you finished 6th overall at the meet. How did you feel out there on the course? Were you intimidated by the quality of runners that were out there racing for Adams State or Western State?
I wasn't necessarily intimidated just because I know that they are high-level competitors, and just being a competitive person myself kind of just made me hungry to just go out there and see what I can do given fitness. And after sitting out last cross season, and then just being back out with this high-level competition just made me more excited, and I kind of just tested my level of fitness at 7,800 feet.
So let's get to know Erica a little bit. You're a California girl, as Tony had just mentioned. So how did you end up running and going to school here at MSU Denver?
So prior to MSU Denver, I ran for Santa Rosa Junior College, and my coach at the time, he told me about Metro, how they recruited me and whatnot, and they wanted me there. And honestly, I had never heard of Metro before, so I did my little research, and I was like, you know what, let's give it a shot. Obviously, moving away, 2 states away was kind of nerve-wracking just because I'm such a family person, but my coaches and family kind of just pushed me to kind of go explore, and they said no matter what I decided, they support me, so it kind of made the decision a little bit easier for me.
Are you glad that you ended up coming to Metro?
I am. I am super glad that I ended up coming. I love the school, not just athletically, but academically. They have a great exercise science program. I'm just so happy here.
Yeah.
So how you're talking about exercise science, that's what you're majoring in according to roadrunnerathletics.com, and you're minoring in nutrition. So can you tell us what you want to do with that, what you hope to do with that once you graduate from college?
Right now I'm set on cardiac rehabilitation. Just because when I was taking, A&P, the heart just seemed to interest me. So being able to help patients, that have had heart attacks or open heart surgeries, things like that, just makes me more excited to kind of get them back on the road to recovery.
And do you want to do that here in Denver, or?
My internship will be here, but it's kind of like to see where I'm at. I'm looking into moving to Oregon for some reason. So honestly, wherever I end up, I know I'll definitely always have a job because the exercise science industry is just so popular.
So you have one older brother and one younger sister. Are all 3 of you athletes?
We were at some point. I mean, I would still classify us as athletes. So my older brother was the one who ended up getting me into track and running. But then he ended up stopped running and got into football. I kept running. My little sister got into running, and we all did track through high school. And they ended up, they stopped. My brother's now into bodybuilding, so he does shows. My little sister no longer does track. So I'm the only one who's left, and I'm pretty excited and happy with how far my running has got me, and I'm just kind of excited to see where, how far I progress and where I end up.
So out of all three of you, I don't want to get you in trouble or anything, but out of all three of you, who's the best athlete?
Oh gosh, I would honestly say myself. Not to be selfish or anything, but just because I stuck with it, you know, yeah, that's kind of the only reason why.
So can you tell us why you wanted to be a distance runner? That's what we want to know, because you compete in cross country, which is around 5 or more kilometers, and track you're competing in the 1,500 meters and 5,000 meters. Why did you get into sprinting? Because I would have just ran like the 100 if I had to choose.
So the funny thing is, freshman year of high school, I was pretty new to running. So my coach, I classified myself as a sprinter, and my high school coach noticed that it took me longer to progress my speed. So coming into sophomore year, he kind of had me start doing like 800s and stuff. And he said I made that look easy, so that's where he started bumping me up to the mile and then the 2 mile, and I kind of started getting good from there. And then over the years, once I'm hitting college, doing 5Ks, and now that I'm in, you know, at a 4-year doing 10Ks, I've just learned to kind of get better at those distances, and it's kind of more fun because you kind of get to sit. It's a longer race. You kind of just chill, you know, for the first half, and then you kind of you ease into it, and then it's much more fun.
Yeah, very cool. So Erica, thanks so much for coming on the show, and wish you the best of luck in your senior season.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So before we end today's show, we want to tell you what there is to come in Roadrunner sports. After these 2 big wins at home, the men's soccer team will head out on the road to continue conference play. They'll first head to Durango to take on the Skyhawks from Fort Lewis College this Friday. Then it's against always tough Colorado Mesa and Grand Junction, and that match will take place on Sunday. The women's soccer squad will continue their home schedule this weekend. They first host the Mavericks from Colorado Mesa on Friday under the lights at 7 p.m. Then on Sunday they'll battle with Western State, and that will kick off at 1 p.m. If you can't make it out to the Regency Athletic Complex, then tune in to Stretch Internet and catch all the action on Roadrunners TV.
Our volleyball team will be back on the road to continue their RMAC schedule. They first head to Gunnison, Colorado to wage war with Western State on Friday night. Then it's on to Grand Junction to take on those Mavericks from Colorado Mesa, and that will tip off at 5 p.m. Our golf team is currently in the midst of the RMAC Fall Preview Meet in Grand Junction, Colorado. They'll finish up things on Tuesday, so we wish Coach Ferguson and her crew the best of luck.
And finally, our men's tennis team will compete in the ITA Regionals in Wichita Falls this weekend. The event will span 3 days with some of the nation's best competition, so best of luck to Coach Greats and the men's tennis squad. So that's going to do it for this week's show. We want to thank Coach Strain, Coach Mack, and Erica for coming on the show. Connor, thanks so much as always. We also want to give a big shout out to the Roadrunners TV team for all the great work they did over this weekend. I'm Tony Almanza. We'll see you next time on the Coach's Corner.